Dean Brown-Nagin, in your opening statement, you said some police have violated Americans' First Amendment liberties. Have some governors violated Americans' First Amendment liberties as well during this lockdown?
I'm not quite sure what you mean. I did hear you talk about the lockdown orders and the way in which there's been differential treatment of those protesters versus the peaceful protesters against racial injustice. That has not been my observation. My sense has been that the police officers have been incredibly restrained in the context of the lockdown protest. As to governors, my understanding is that cases have been filed against the orders of some governors, and that is the right.
Let me ask you this. A month and a half ago, actually 2 months ago, the Attorney General issued a memorandum to U.S. attorneys telling them to be concerned and looking for potential violations of people's First Amendment rights, religious liberty rights, and others. And in that, he said the Constitution is not suspended in times of crisis. Do you agree with that statement?
Of course. We ought to be able to both take care of our citizens during a pandemic and respect everyone's constitutional rights.
Okay, then let me give you an example here. The Virginia governor has an order that you can't meet in groups of larger than 10. 16 people met in a sanctuary that could accommodate 225 people. Do you believe that is a violation of the those American citizens' First Amendment religious liberty rights?
Well, certainly those individuals are able to take that case to court if they want to make that. Governors, of course, have police powers that are designed to further public safety, and I believe that was the motivation behind that order.
Yeah. What about the double standard? What about this same governor, Governor Northam, who is doing a press briefing in a much smaller room where there are 21 people in the room? Is there some kind of concern you would have there when you have a governor saying you can't assemble and exercise your religious liberty rights, even though it's 16 people in a sanctuary that accommodates 225 people, and yet he can do a press conference in a much smaller room where there are 21 people? Does that concern you? Someone who lectures and instructs students on the First Amendment and on their fundamental liberties?
Right. Well, I don't know very much about the facts that you discussed. I would want to know who those people are. Were they journalists? Were they officers of the law? Were they following the mandate?
That raises an interesting situation, because I know in Louisville, Kentucky, the governor had done the same thing. You couldn't have church services, even drive-in church services. And he was actually citing people who had a drive-in in their car, not going into a sanctuary. He prohibited even that. But I wonder, we never hear of anything where the press was there filming it. Of course, only the parishioners coming for a drive-in service were cited. The press wasn't cited. So some First Amendment liberties were allowed to be exercised, but others weren't. Here's what the governor of New Jersey said. When asked about all this and whether his lockdown order comported with the Constitution, he said, quote, "I wasn't thinking of the Bill of Rights when we did this." Does that give you much, does that concern you when you got a governor of a major state saying he's not really focused on the Bill of Rights when he issues these lockdown orders? Dean?
Well, I would like to think that the Bill of Rights is always present in our minds. And as I said, people are entitled to challenge those orders if they would like, and they think
they are. They're challenging Mayor Garcetti on his Second Amendment, his prohibition on gun stores being open. They're challenging Governor Newsom on his lockdown on not being able to go to church. They're definitely doing that. Americans certainly understand. Are you concerned about the double standard? The idea that a mayor can walk out without a mask, since Mr. Raskin is so concerned about that, without a mask, a mayor in Los Angeles can walk out while the protesters are chanting defund the police, kneel down without a mask around all kinds of people, but at the same time he puts sand at the skate park so kids can't skate outside in the skate park. You concerned about the double standard that you see out there?
Well, I'm not sure that I've seen the same double standard that you are articulating. As I said, I have noticed at the protests, as others have, that many people are wearing masks, and so they're trying to reconcile
Governor Northam takes a selfie at a protest when he won't let 16 people go to church in a sanctuary that holds 225 people. And I'm asking if the double standard is helpful to First Amendment liberties and protecting them, or harmful.
Well, I believe the governor apologized for not wearing a mask.
So he can apologize, but he still kept a standard on everyone else. So this is what drives so many Americans crazy is the double standard they see out there.